Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is Freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, it's Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Jody Deane. Jody is an awakening coach, mindset mentor, healer, conscious comic, actor, inspirational speaker, writer and podcast host. He specialises in helping heart-based leaders, entrepreneurs and visionaries activate multi-dimensional magnificence, accelerate awakening and manifest their mission. He's also the founder of Step Out of Time retreats. Jody got interested in metaphysics, healing and spirituality at a very young age. Later on, he looked for the connection between creativity and consciousness. This led him on a quest of self-discovery, which took him to India and beyond in his early 20s to learn from exceptional leaders, teachers, mentors and guides. Jody obtained a bachelor's degree in creative arts from Bath University and has also trained in arts, psychotherapy, spiritual coaching, energy healing, rebirth breathwork, teaching EFL and professional acting. So this is going to be a really inspiring interview. I met Jody when we were both planning retreats at the beginning of 2020 and I'm so excited about interviewing Jody today. So hi Jody, I'm really looking forward to this interview.
Hi, yeah, me too.
We connected, it was back in the beginning of this year, wasn't it, when we were planning to do a physical retreat before we got told that there was a pandemic happening and then we couldn't do events or travel anywhere in the world.
Yeah, crazy COVID.
It was
conundrum.
And it was great to meet you on that because I know a few of us connected.
Yes.
And then obviously recently as well, I've joined your 14-day detox, which I'm really excited about, having, been a couple of days in. And so, yeah, it's really fab to have you on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Sure. Great to be here.
And I think, just not knowing you that well, really, but knowing the parts I do already know of you, I feel that you are really a really inspiring person because you've inspired me anyway to take on board some new things and detox and kind of make a commitment really to myself and an intention for the next sort of few weeks. So thank you for that. I'm really grateful for that.
You're welcome.
And I know from kind of following you on the socials, you're doing some inspiring stuff. So tell us a little bit more about Jody, because as I said previously, Your Freedom Podcast focuses on the 3 pillars, which are love, money and mind. And freedom in love to me is about self-care and self-love and just the love that we give out to the world, really. Freedom in money is, financial freedom, being able to choose the things that we want to do and have, a flexible life, I suppose, or, chosen lifestyle. And then freedom in mind encompasses the whole thing because I've realised through different life challenges that your mindset or just your thread in the head, as I call it, can have a huge impact on us. And it's a lot of the time it's about perception for me, because one day you can be looking at something one way and then the other day it's a total different perception. So our mind is a crazy thing sometimes, but has a huge impact on us. So those are my sort of 3 pillars. Tell us about Jody and how did you get to be doing this coaching stuff that you're doing right now? Because I know you've been on a whole journey.
Sure. I mean, it all starts a long time ago, really, because I've always been interested in healing and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And that's been a through line during my life. And I was 12 when I think I picked up a book on self-healing, bought a book on self-healing.
Right.
And I'd already got into metaphysics and energies and the possibilities of the human beings, supernatural things, and understanding about everything that's paranormal and UFOs and all of that.
Yeah.
And somehow it just kind of pointed me towards the direction of healing and self-healing. So I started learning about that early on and getting inspired by books. And then when I was 15, I went to the Mind Body Spirit Festival in London. And that
Right.
was a massive wake up call for me, just to sort of meet very interesting, inspiring people who were healers or light
Yeah.
workers of some kind, or bringing wisdom traditions to the masses. There was overtone singing, there was trance dance, there was
Yeah. Wow.
real smorgasbord of stuff. And it really was just, I was so open to it all and so ready to imbibe it. And, because I'd already been reading about all this stuff, I already knew it was all possible and real. And I was just so curious. And I ended up from that finding out about these camps that were going on in the summer to do with healing or to do with just kind of coming together with intention and purpose and being on the land for a while and sharing skills and learning and meditating and all that kind of stuff. And I discovered yoga at one of these camps, and really got to kind of meditate in a group with others. And I received some healings, and there was just so much, that I was discovering and experiencing, and it felt so natural and real. And I was just like, oh wow, this is like what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about what I've learned in school. This is what it's about. This is the real for me.
Yeah.
That kind of started to connect me into, okay, well, what do I, what do I want to do? Do I do this in the world? And they weren't a young man starting to be a young man. It was so confusing. And then I discovered, marijuana and drugs, and so that was a bit, went off on tangents with that. And and that was also a kind of consciousness journey as well. It was always somehow it was feeling to me that, again, the through line of all of that was kind of expanding my consciousness in some way.
Yeah.
And then and some of it was, and some of it was just pain relief. And it was during that time in my late teens when I I had this art therapy session, and I realized I needed to heal trauma from my childhood, that things really started to kind of make sense, that I needed to work on myself. And so for example, the smoking marijuana and stuff, began to see that was a distraction or an escapism as well. So, but it took me years to sort of get out of that. Just using it as something to kind of space me out, rather than looking at things or feeling how I feel, right, and really being with that. So it's just a sort of this fumbling through life, trying to figure things out, and meeting these inspiring figures on the way, and decided I wanted to definitely go down the healer route, and ended up doing a health sciences degree. But after a year, it was really good, but it didn't. It was it was like academia. That's not resonating with me. I need direct experience. That's what I need. I need direct experience. I don't want to learn about from books anymore. It's too abstract. It's too removed from my reality. And so I ended up, after a year of that, dropping out and moving to London. And there was a shiatsu college which I joined, and just a Japanese acupressure healing system. And I started doing that. And also there was an integrative arts psychotherapy training, which I joined as well. So I was doing that. So on one hand, I was kind of learning about the energy body and direct experience very much with the shiatsu. And on the other side, I was going through a sort of journey of creativity and psychotherapy. And that year, which was a certificate training, it was very much about yourself. And it was very deep.
It sounds like you got a good mix, though, things that you were like focusing on.
It did feel that way as well. And I actually had, like quite a strong healing crisis at the end of that year. I had a meltdown at the last day of my psychotherapy training. I had a complete meltdown, and my body was going into kind of tetany, just like contractions.
Right. Okay.
It's like a bioenergetic release was going on in my body. I could hardly breathe. It was like a sort of a panic attack. But what is a panic attack? As well. So I understood it more as an bioenergetic kind of release that was happening.
Yeah.
And I was feeling emotions that I'd suppressed were coming up because I'd got very good at suppressing emotions from childhood trauma, right? My parents divorced when I was 7, and it was horrible. It was just absolute, just a complete nightmare. The whole thing was just the messiest divorce scenario imaginable. And it was so discombobulating. I got very angry and acted out massively
Yeah.
for a couple of years as a child. Just went pretty wild, to be honest. And but then I was kind of forced to suppress it all as well, and just sort of get on, right?
And that's
Sort
the
of break.
thing, 'cause that's what I think a lot about, my boys having gone through a difficult split, and an interesting one for me because obviously I'm, trying to do what I can to support them.
Mm,
But I think it's difficult as well, just like you say, there's that whole thing that you just get on, don't you?
right. You kind of learn to how to operate in the world, and it basically means you have to, if you're not given a space to express yourself and be yourself and go through deep process, then you're suppressing and repressing the emotions just to sort of be able to function.
And so what do you think is obviously there's no right or wrong, is there, in these scenarios? Because obviously there's so many different things as well as
Sure.
every scenario is different as well. It's kind of a lot to do with people, isn't it? Because it's different behaviours and characters and the whole scenario. Just everything is unique to everybody's personal experience that they go through. But what is the solution? Like from my side now, because I'm always thinking about what I can do to support my 2 boys. What do you think would have helped you in that scenario? What did you need back then, or would there have been anything that you could have done differently, or that maybe your parents could have done differently?
I feel that looking back on it, that some kind of mediator would have been really helpful between them,
Yeah,
to have
yeah,
mediation. Yeah. And there are people who are mediators, professional mediators.
yeah. There are.
That's obviously therapy for both of them.
Yeah,
So it's to help them deal with their emotions that's coming up, counseling, etc. Counseling for the children,
yeah,
and options for the children to express their emotions, and that it be shown to them that it's totally okay and valid, the emotions they're having,
yeah. Exactly.
and kind of holding space for them, and talking them through how they're feeling and what's going on, and letting them be with that. And that I would say is super helpful.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good listening to that because a lot of that I've tried to do. I've probably not done it all perfectly, but I've done a lot of those things that you said.
Yeah.
But I think it is difficult. Well, I'm always thinking about the boys, thinking that they are the innocent ones, and probably a bit over the top sometimes. That's why I've had to back off.
Right.
Be a bit too proactive, and I don't want to be like forcing emotion out.
Right.
It's
Mm.
like too much the other way. Sometimes I've been a bit like that.
Mm.
But I think it's interesting, sort of like the long term impact, isn't it? Which I know that you've obviously experienced and going through your whole healing journey, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's identified it as the core wound.
Yeah,
And it's about, well, for me, it's about really never underestimating that core wound, without wanting to sort of completely make it up a big thing about it, and oh god, and I had this terrible divorce when I was a child, and talk about it all day long to everyone.
yeah,
But there's definitely a time and a place, and all I'm saying is really just sort of stepping out of the victim role,
yeah,
but it does very much need for me to acknowledge it to myself, how that affected me emotionally, mentally, and my beliefs about the world, and taking ownership of what happened for me and how I reacted and responded, and what taking ownership of what's mine in all of that. And
yeah,
also realizing that a lot of it wasn't mine. Most of it wasn't mine. It was theirs. It was my parents
yeah, exactly,
as
exactly.
well. And that's the kind of ancestral kind of healing side of things, which, is a whole other aspect of life, which is recognizing that these things have actually been passed on to me, and they're not me and they're not mine.
Exactly, exactly.
Another side of it all. But again, with one's own healing journey, it's so important to acknowledge what you've experienced and what you've been through, and give yourself the space and the time to let that be and, express if it needs to express, feel those emotions, connect with that. Because you see, what happens is that if we don't allow that, and if we keep them tightly contained inside of ourselves, because the nature of the human being is to move towards growth, the psyche will find ways for these things to be expressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happens unconsciously. And that is what they term, acting out. So in adulthood, stuff that was never resolved as a child. So, a classic example of that is a ruthless dictator.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the extreme example. The most extreme example is, the ruthless dictator who, as a child, was completely disrespected and bullied by, usually the father, and was beaten usually, and just had an absolutely horrific existence as a child. Usually is the case. And Alice Miller has written books about this. One particular is The Drama of Being a Child, and she charts the lives of these infamous kind of dictators and talks about their childhood. Like Stalin had a broken arm that never healed, and that was from being beaten by his father. Things like this. So the intensity and the level of the trauma in childhood, if it's unresolved, and it can be acted out
Yeah, exactly.
in extremis in adulthood. And that's one way that we can see in the world that it is, through looking at those kinds of personalities. Of course, that's just one extreme, but it actually is across the board in multiple different ways. It might be a completely different expression of that. It might be turned in against oneself.
Yeah, exactly.
The anger, right? And then that it manifests in a completely different way, towards suicidal tendency, for example.
Exactly.
Drug abuse, drug addiction, all of that. It's all kind of internalized and directed against the self-destructive behaviors, for example. Yeah, so it's just really, great, I feel, to be mindful of all of this.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that because I think there's so many people that are not mindful, that they're just that they're living their life, and these things that are happening around them in their lives, that there's also like blame for other people, or blame for this, but actually aren't in that. Don't ever stop and reflect and kind of look internally, or just be mindful of, like you say, not that things could be happening because of something they experienced previously. But I don't think people get chance to stop in this busy world, or they choose not to, or they choose to ignore it and not face. There's a fear about facing it as well, about sort of looking deep into themselves. And I think from looking at what your journey, and I don't know everything as well, really, but from the snippets I do know of you, you spent a lot of time really focusing on that healing part of it, and having some amazing experiences as well, I'd imagine. As well as some probably incredibly emotional experiences as well. And I think that you can help a lot of people, which I know you are doing with your coaching and stuff, with the whole journey and experiences you've had. Because I know just by being in a couple of days in your detox group, I feel inspired by that. So I don't know, I know obviously we connected initially because we were both wanting to do retreats with and helping other people, I suppose. Do you want to share about some of the work that you're doing and some of the experience that you've had and how you can help people?
Sure. I mean, again, it all ties into, what I've experienced and what I've lived in the past. But I was very, as a kind of, you might have got, but I was very hungry for anything to do with consciousness expansion and shifts and transformation. And so that's why I was drawn to the path that I was, but I was also drawn to the creativity as well. But that's also due to do with self-expression as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because, the creative is an expression. And this is also the human psyche wishes to move, in that way, and express and create these acts of creation. So there was also a side which was from like really needing myself to express, self-express. And so I did get involved in performance and, start learning about well, creativity in general, but also particularly performing, whether it was clowning or acting. And
Okay,
so,
fine.
so there's a thread running through my life of that happened. And now looking at that, it's also like, right, that was all about embodiment. It was all about communication. It was all about this self-expression, speaking my truth.
Yeah.
And I see how much that feeds into everything that I do now. And I'm very grateful for that, for that aspect of what I've been learning. So that is definitely a thread.
I
And so
I knew there was a creative thread because I'd seen your book.
well, it's I could speak for hours just about all of that, but I suppose I do what I help people with. One of the things I help people with is self-expression and speaking their truth, and this sense of very much in the now times that a lot of people have got wonderful gifts to share with the world. But it is what they find is they're very much blocked in the throat chakra, the energy center of the throat, which is about communication. It's about self-expression.
Yeah.
And I tend to find myself helping people with that aspect. And that can be, talking about their business. It can be sharing what they do online or in a workshop or speaking, all of that, being visible on the internet, all of those things as well. So I help with that. Yeah, that's just something that, not intentionally happened, but just happened because
Yeah.
just naturally been a fit. But yeah, when I go back to like my early 20s, it ended up in me going off to India and having very deep transformational times in India, doing more therapy, healing my heart, getting much more into meditation, really having direct experiences. I had various awakening phenomenon happening. Yeah, it was, to kind of starting to experience the multidimensional aspects of life
Yeah.
and realize there's just, if through direct experience, realizing there's just so much more than what we've been told. And also with that as well, that actually very little of what we've been told, what I've been taught is true, is real, is actually real. So that was very, whoa, that was like, oh, wow, okay, this is huge.
Yeah.
Right? The more you wake up, the more you realize, oh my God, this is like such an illusion. Everything illusory. Wow. It's just trying to find that, and then more home in on the essential truth, and work out what that is, and okay, how can I be this in my life, and as a value, as principles, and just let go of all the other stuff, and see my own acting out tendencies, and kind of lay the axe to the root of those tendencies.
Yeah.
So that was just like a whole big
And
thing going on through
when
life.
was it you went to India, or have you been a few times?
I was 22 when I first went.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then I went back when I was 24, and then again when I was 25, but just for a bit. Yeah, and there was went and searched out teachers and masters in those times, and
Yeah.
met some. Yeah, it was incredible, very revelatory, and very quite hard to come back to the West and integrate that
Yeah. I
with.
bet it
Yeah,
was.
very hard. Reverse culture shock again. And then I went, I was like learned rebirthing breath work. I lived in Spain for 8 years, during from my late 20s to my early 30s. And that was, I mean, I did many different things in that time. I've done, when I look back, I've done so many different jobs. It is ridiculous. Really, it is ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. But I also see how all those different experiences have
I was
really
going to say
informed.
that there's all the variety, and it makes
Yeah,
you who you are.
as informed in ways that I can understand things
I was
better
going to say,
from
and
all these different
understand,
perspectives.
understand people as well. Do
Yeah,
things differently.
people, and how things work and operate in the world and all of that. And it is, it's quite remarkable, really. I'm sort of all when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I did that. I've done that. I mean, I'll list a few of them and I'll give you an idea, right? Supermarket, fruit and veg assistant, illegal Ibiza taxi driver, drug dealer, okay, yes, energy healer, promo guy,
Promo guy.
actor, well, writer, that's something I do now, So
In fact, that leads me on to, I was going to say, what is Jody about right now? What are you working on right now?
what are you working on right now? Yeah. So yeah, it's about awakening. It's I kind of like regard myself as an awakening coach,
Yeah,
and it's about activating the multidimensional magnificence in people, helping them really see that there's so much more than this physical 3D existence. There
yeah,
is so much more to life than that, and likely the reasons why they're not fulfilled and they're not experiencing levels of bliss and joy which are available are because they're not open in those ways and they're not activated in their multidimensional magnificence.
yeah,
And that you do have to do the work, the self work, to access a lot of that, because it is tied into all you've experienced from birth onwards, and how you close down as you get socialized, and so you're not you stop being open to a lot of the different kind of the range of what is out there due to socialization from primary caregivers, your parents, most
yeah,
cases,
exactly,
and
exactly.
schooling and the media and everything else. You're very much kind of fitting yourself into this little box and going through life, within this little box, and often very, fearful. When you really look deeper, there's a lot of fear there, and that fear is, endemic in society. And yeah, it's just the way things are. But there's a choice there. Do I want to wish to live in fear and be small, or do I want to play big and live real, be raw
Yeah,
and real and authentic in who I really am, and really express that in my life? Do I want to be that? And it is a choice, and but the alternative is extremely mediocre.
yeah, exactly. It's like you say, living in your truth, isn't it?
Yeah,
Living in your truth.
living
Yeah,
the truth. Yeah, whatever that is for you. I'm not going to impose my truth on you. I have no right to do that, and I have no wish to do that. I wish to enable you or anyone else to find your own truth and explore that and celebrate that, whatever that looks like and however that needs to manifest. And it can be, very different for different people, and it's often never what we imagine it to be.
yeah, exactly.
Because again, we're accustomed to thinking of things in terms of categories and roles and limited ideas about what's possible. One of the great things that I feel my father helped me with was he always said, always question everything, never be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah,
And that's been very helpful, because I find myself constantly doing that, actually, asking questions. And yeah, my parents never, I feel grateful for this as well, sharing this with a friend yesterday. That my parents never kind of imposed any belief system on me.
yeah, that's good.
They were always, just like, yeah, whatever you wish, understand, however you understand it, that's great. And also, I was brought up Quaker as well, which is a very kind of, yeah, fairly enlightened form of Christianity, which again is about you developing your own relationship with God or the Holy Spirit or whatever you believe is bigger than yourself.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And there's a lot of space for listening and for silence and everything else. And that's definitely been a kind of a warm embrace in the background of my life, which definitely aided me in those ways.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, and so yeah, more recently, I've had to, because I did start sort of being a healer and having clients when I was in my late 20s, early 30s,
Right, okay.
um, doing healing, energy healing, and kind of from talking, kind of coaching stuff along with the rebirthing as well. So I was doing kind of breath work with people and healing, kind of whatever they needed at the time. But then I turned away from that. And, it's one of these classic sort of things that, oh, I can't do this. I'm not enough or whatever. And just, you know,
Yeah,
something, everything else just seems easier than the thing that you really need to be doing.
exactly.
But again, there's a time and a place for everything. And I just wasn't fully ready at that time to kind of fully commit to it, because I had some limiting beliefs. And also life took me in other ways as well. So it was a blend of different incoming phenomena that were happening at that time, and actually ended up me in my early 30s, eventually through a relationship that didn't work out, going to the States and then meeting a spiritual teacher and then ending up living in their spiritual community in India for 18 months.
Okay.
And that was a time of, deep kind of bliss and unfoldment for me. And that kind of started then leaving that place and coming back to the UK started like this kind of the most recent cycle of my life, being based in London and then connecting with community here. And I was very much in the acting vein for a few years. And then I came across a speaking academy, public
Okay,
speaking,
great.
and fully immersed myself in that and got very activated and realized that actually speaking my truth is far more powerful and captivating than speaking someone else's lines.
Yeah. Exactly.
And through speaking my truth and also kind of being in that environment of enabling kind of encouragement of like-minded conscious people, I realized I needed to step back into holding space for others and coaching and mentoring, and then I got back into offering healing and energetic support, and it's just all come together so wonderfully. And then I realized actually I'm going to start doing retreat and sharing knowledge in retreat, and then I've been working with clients for the last 15 months now, with
And do
kind
you
of
tend to do
my
that?
new upgraded way of sharing and doing things, and which is much more intuitive.
Right, yeah. Do you do that one-to-one or in groups, or because I know
So
obviously
I have been
part of
doing it
your
in one-to-one, but now I'm starting to do groups. Yeah, and so there's something that I'm now starting, which is the Ascension Accelerator,
okay, fab.
which is a group program for heart-based leaders who want to really, again, activate multidimensional greatness and magnificence and really step into kind of like the 5D, fifth dimensional reality and really, step up on the highest possible level of expressing who they are in their truth, in their life and business, whether they're an entrepreneur or someone in the creative field or in a leadership position. Really fully embodying and living from that reality, and letting go of the programming and everything that is the past and that does not serve.
Yeah, exactly. And so
So
if people listening to this, if they were thinking, that sounds pretty cool, I'd like to get involved in something like that, how would they contact you, Jody?
sure. So I'm on Facebook. My name. If you just look up Jody Deane, JodyDeane, and ping me a message. I currently have 5,000 friends, so it's I'm having to delete a few people if to accept more friend requests. But then that's my profile. Got a beard in my current pic. I think
We'll put
the
the links in the
URL is
show
Jody
notes.
Deane
We'll
Actor because
we'll
it
put the
hasn't
links in the
changed.
show notes. So what was that? Sorry, the actor one.
The URL is just Jody Deane Actor. That's so
Right. Okay.
facebook.com.
Yeah, we'll
Then
put the link in the show notes.
please do all of that. And then I have a Facebook page, which is the Flow Ninja page, and also message me through that. I'm on Twitter, Jody Deane as well. So there's that, and Instagram at Jody-Deane, and you can message me through all those platforms. I have a website in development, and I have a page at the moment which is go.flowninja.co, where you can sign up to my email list.
Okay. Well, send me those over and I'll put them in the show notes. So everybody listening, you'll be able to find those in the show notes and comments. And obviously, I've joined your detox. Are you going to be running that again after?
Yes, I will. I will be. Depending on how this detox goes and how it all flows and everything, I'm gonna make some decisions around other detoxes. Thinking
Yeah.
I could do one in a couple of months, or I could do one for the new year.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly. But I will definitely be doing one the spring equinox,
When's that? What was that? Is that like
March
March?
21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spring equinox. Great time for spring cleaning. But then so
Yeah.
is the new year as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And the detox journey is a wonderful thing to do, and it's necessary for basically every human being. Obviously, if you're 6 years old, it's not so necessary if compared to if you're 36 years old or 50 or 60. It's really, really necessary. Just because of the amount of toxicity in the environment and in the food that we have. The heavy metals, glyphosate, all of that does go into the brain, and our livers are all clogged up with all these toxins. We have enlarged livers in Western society dealing with all the toxins and the low quality food that's consumed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the water. There's just everything in the water. The air as well as the food, and clothing, textiles, furniture. They're all outgassing toxins as well, unless they're made before
all the plastics
chemicals were used, right?
Plastics everywhere, aren't there?
Plastics as well. Computers are outgassing toxins, phones, anything with a processor, it's all of that. So you got, of course, with the EMFs and all that side of it going on. So there's multiple reasons why, and just having a poor diet as well. That detox is necessary and advised and recommended, and it's just so powerful as well to reclaim vitality, increase energy levels in the long run, and let go of the gunk and the gut and the bowel, and release all of that. If you have a big belly, that a lot of that could be intestinal plaque and gunk accumulated over decades, for example, and it's a breeding ground for all kinds of nasties as well that you don't want in your body, and the devil will suck the life out of you, suck out your vitality. So there's that side of it all as well, and
I'm loving it.
Yeah,
I'm a few days in, and I've got we were talking previously, and I'm part of your group, but it just feels like I just can't wait to be like fully refreshed now and just clean.
That's it. It's really it's such a gift to give yourself. So well done for coming on the group detox. I'm loving it.
I am. I'm really loving it so far, and I'm excited to see. I'm just loving it. Brilliant. Well, really, really appreciate you sharing everything you shared, Jody. As I said previously, I feel like I've got lots to learn from you.
Thank you.
Really inspired by some of the stuff and experiences you've already had and that you shared. I always ask everybody at the end of the podcast what freedom means to them. So what does freedom mean to you, Jody?
That's such a great question. Truly, freedom means to me freedom from the idea of separation, the idea that I am this separate entity acting in the world and I'm on my own, and all the pressures that come with that, and the ideas and the suffering. Because in reality, my truth is that all separation is an illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is and has been the true freedom for me, is the remembrance of that, the constant remembrance of that there is no separation.
Yeah, I like it.
And that realization comes with just wonderful, incredible levels of inspiration and freedom.
Yeah, love it. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Jody, for just spending the time and sharing everything you shared. Really, really appreciate it.
You're so welcome, and thank you for being a great interviewer and your presence and lovely questions you asked. I could, there's so much more. I'm just looking at what I've talked about and then what I haven't talked about, and it's like, oh my God, like, if I just talked about purpose but hey, everything has its time and its place.
Exactly. You'll have to come back after the detox.
Yeah, I'd be delighted.
I'll talk about the experience that I had with it all.
Yeah, there's just so much. There's so many layers to it all, isn't there? So
exactly. Well, brilliant.
Next time.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, thanks again, Jody. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.